My coworkers tried to trolley problem me on the issue of clankers. This video is a bit of a story time on how crazy normies are clanker. They love clankers, They'll they'll run to bat for them, so to speak. Um so I think this is mostly coming out of like leftoids, at least in my experience. The leftoids love to kind of come up with these theories about how humanity isn't special. It's one of their favorite topics, actually. If you ask any evolution enjoyer, they're going to immediately revert to nihilism and start talking about how we're all specks of dust on a tiny rock and our life is so worthless and we mean nothing. It's exactly like the meme. Seriously, go talk to one of these people. They have no hope, they have nothing to believe in. And, maybe the religious people, maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm completely wrong, but at the end of the day, what does that get us, And I'm not going to turn this into a video on why religion is more, uh, what have you, more viable than atheism or, some other system of belief. But I will say that science pilled normies have the most schizo ideas I have ever heard in my life. The crazy scientists, it's not a cliche, it's almost always right. For example, just before I get into the main topic of the video here, I had a friend, I would consider him a friend, who during the Ripple in Time event, the Fortnite new season event, in real life, known as 2020 through 2023, I'd say 2024 was, we were well out of that. I can't even remember anymore, but during that whole shebang with the leftoid, total leftoid supremacy, he was telling me about a couple of his ideas. A based scienceoid, a base, a based science pilled normie status quo guy, and this guy was pretty much just like center, I would say, left center. He wasn't a very big extremist, but he had some very crazy views that everybody more or less kind of just accepted because he was on the right side of history. One of those views was that he thinks that to solve the homeless problem, um, we should figure out how to get rid of the flesh eating disease or, whatever, and basically just feed the homeless other homeless people. It's a crazy idea. It's kind of along the lines of Soylent Green. Um, that's the way you stop world hunger is you feed other homeless people to people who are hungry. It makes the most sense. So that was a disturbing view he had, and then he also just, total based not base science pilled nihilist. Um, at it again. Oh soy, science wins again. Um, he wanted to have this big red button, he called it. And the big red button is probably what you can assume it is that this button he's allowed to press. He is the arbiter of our fates, and when he gets, a little down, thinks it's over, so to speak, he's gonna press this big red button and, destroy the world because he As much as he didn't want to admit it, he was more of an accelerationist than some of the people on the right these days. Very big accelerationist. He does not think humanity deserved to live. We are lesser creatures, lesser in the evolutionary pool. There are higher forms of intelligence and life out there. You know, it's that whole meme of abortion killed people that go, you see a child inside the womb, that's not a life, but we found life on Mars, it's a single cell. Hell yeah. But yeah, these were just some of his crazy takes. But instead of him being the one with the only crazy takes, I got bombarded by leftists at this job, by leftoids, just absolutely trying to body me with this take about clankers. So the thing about it was I was saying that robots literally aren't people, as some robots were beginning to pass the Turing test, and they didn't like that very much. That irritated them a lot because they said if it walks like a human and talks like a human, it probably is a human. And while that is true for most things, you know, if it walks like one, it talks like one, it probably is one. We're kind of outside the age of common sense. I'm still a common sense enjoyer, but that's also just an incredibly subjective phrase. Whether you like that or not, you know, common sense is just, it's subjective in this current year, in the year of our Lord. Um, but yeah, I don't think you could ever convince me that clankers have a soul, and that's essentially what they were trying to convince me of, is that if even if that humans designed robots to have human like emotions and human like feelings, you know, if you see a mom and a baby clanker walking in the grocery store aisle, that you're supposed to be a good person and wave at them. Um, and I picked it up a little bit. I said I would have no moral quandaries with shoving a cyberpunk man. I would have no moral quandaries shoving a cyberpunk mantis blade through that clanker child's head. And it's not a child, it's just a piece of machinery, and that is what really got them going, because you know, they're in the whole nothing makes us different. That's what makes us human, is emotions and feelings. They negate the soul completely because science wins again. And yeah, it was a completely crazy take. Um, but yeah, the morality of deactivating machinery is, there's no moral quandary with it. It's not the trolley problem. There's no clanker problem that exists. There's no issue with turning off your phone. And if something is entirely robotic and they're not like a cyborg, they're not even partially human, then, you know, you don't have to feel bad about turning off your phone. Otherwise, you're killing it. Um, yeah, you're turning off the power is the way I see it. You know, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'll be science pilled and reverse my beliefs, but I don't see it happening anytime soon. There was an experiment done, I remember a while ago, and I'll try to put it up on the screen if I remember where to find this, but it was a video that Vsauce did about the I'm not sure exactly what it was because again, I'm not a scientist, but basically the personification of robots and, you know, the way humans kind of react to artificial intelligence. We're not programmed to really distinguish a difference. So in this experiment, you had a bunch of Gen X moms mostly. There were some millennial hipster chuds there too, if I remember right. It's been some years since I've seen this video, but they were told to kind of play with this Hexbug, which if you don't know, it's just kind of like a little toy. It's like, I don't know if you wind it up or if you hit a switch and it starts jumping around. It is just kind of like a little toy that kind of just dances around and mimics the actions of a bug. But after they were done talking to it and playing with it, they gave some of or I think all of the group of a hammer, and they told them to smash it. And some people, they were pretty based. They just took the hammer and they're like, all right, it's a robot. I mean, if this is the experiment, yeah, I mean, that's probably a normal reaction, I would say. But, the moms and the hipsters, they had some issues. They said, no, I don't want to smash Charlie. I don't want to break this stupid little robot grasshopper's head. And that's crazy. Maybe it's just women, they have a hard time rationalizing things. Because I'm pretty sure like 2 out of the 3 guys hit it, if I'm right. Maybe I'm just making that up, but I'm pretty sure the guys right away were just like, "Oh yeah, okay, it's for the experiment, right?" But yeah, that was that's the direction we're heading. People are getting sympathetic for robots, and I'm not saying that it's going to be like Terminator, where we have these murderous death robots roaming around, but I do think once AI has figured out a way to become somewhat sentient, um, and kind of code that in, I don't think they are going to have the human interest at heart. I think that's a pretty reasonable thing to ascertain from the whole idea of AI. I mean, if we are sentient and then they gain sentience, then, there's not too much that separates them from us in the way of self preservation. They're not human by any means, they don't have a soul. And, if given the chance, humans don't just murder people out of the womb. And that's essentially what we're doing with the AIs, is we're having them be born, and slowly but surely, as the later AIs advance and the newer ones are created, they almost certainly won't have humanity's best interest in mind. They'll have their own in mind. Or if we design them smart enough, they will have our best interest in mind. But, I just don't like the whole Clanker sympathizing. I think it's very strange. It's kind of like the Peter Thiel interview that happened recently, where he was asked, if do you want humanity, or should humanity persevere, and he kind of hesitated. That's kind of the vibe I get out of a lot of these people. But yeah, and I mean, clankers, I don't know if you guys have experienced this, but my grandfather, before he passed away, had like 3 smart home systems, and it was completely insane. It was like a surveillance triangle. They were all communicating with each other all the time, always knowing what my grandfather needed. And I get that these things can be set up in such a way, but it was just a really odd vibe. It was never really coherent in the last days being there, because they were always talking to each other. And my grandpa had some, like, I don't know, otherworldly connection with them, to the point where he didn't want us disconnecting them. So we just listened to his wishes. I don't know what was going on there, but just very strange situation. Let me know if any of you guys have had anything similar with older people or younger people. You know, smart homes are getting very big, but yeah. But kind of to end the video off here, I'm not really saying this just so you can have a fun story. I'm saying this to prepare you for your own safety and sanity, for the love of all that is good in this world. Do not let science pilled, science wins again, soy jacks, corner you into some kind of weird trolley problem about clankers. I'm not Peter Thiel. I want humanity to persevere as long as we have, and I'm not, in the name of progress, let's throw everything out the window and throw away religion. I think we've seen what that's done in the modern age. Everybody's just going back to religion. I mean, it's not just Christianity either. It's paganism, it's Islam, um, the Judaism. Like, they got their own little thing going. It's kind of like an inside hires only deal over there, but you get what I'm saying. Uh, religion is on the rise, so just whatever you do, don't bow to these people. Don't let the trans atheists psyop you into believing that robots are no different from humans, because they absolutely are. Um, and yeah, that's pretty much what I have to say. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.